Ladies and gentlemen, the next edition of Instant Reaction, segment number 10, is upon us. We will be welcoming, of course, Kevin Connelly from Storm the Paint. He is their expert writer and, of course, a good friend of our brand and myself as well. Alongside Rob DeLuca, I'm Joey Jarzynka. We've got another good one for you here in this Big East tournament preview. And, of course, we will be highlighting the St. John's Red Storm here in this one. Kevin, good to see you, sir. And thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Happy to be here, ready for this week to get started already.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, listen, we've brought this up countless times, not only on the Primetime Rundown when you've joined us, but you and I were together on the day the sports world stopped and the day the world stopped over at the Garden. And, for starters, we're both going to be back there on Wednesday night. How good does it feel?
It's going to be nice. It's going to be a real good thing to be at. This will be the first 3 games on Wednesday night that we'll be at, because I think last year with UConn coming back, so it'll be something new, I guess, with 3 games on Wednesday night. So that'll be certainly cool to experience being there.
Kevin, we got to move now into, of course, the bracket, because we did the same thing just a few moments ago, of course, with a couple other guests. And, of course, on Wednesday night, it's going to be Xavier Butler. That's going to be the first game, the early tip, starting at 4:30 Eastern time. Xavier Butler, the 8-9 game. Then, of course, the 7:10 game, St. John's DePaul at 7 or whenever the other game finishes. And then the nightcap will be rounded out with Seton Hall and Georgetown. But, of course, in our game that we are looking at, St. John's and DePaul. St. John's had a pretty underwhelming season, and that might just be an understatement of the century. They had a pretty disappointing season when they were supposed to finish 4th in the preseason coaches poll. What did you see in your first full season covering this team as a true professional?
There was no consistency. You got a different team every night. That's what it kind of boils down to. And I guess it makes it even more disappointing when you had 2 of the best players in the conference on your team and you fell short of, they fell short of their regular season expectations. Granted, I guess still in the postseason, their expectations or their goals could still be achieved by running the table and making it to the tournament. But obviously that seems like a long shot just given how they played this year and more specifically their draw. If you beat DePaul, then have fun. You go get Villanova. So I guess theoretically their goals are still there, but there's been no consistency on the floor this year. You don't know what team you're getting on a given night.
Yeah, and the worst part, of course, is that when you and I got a chance to see St. John's the last few years when we were students at St. John's, of course, they are prone to playing in the 12 o'clock game. They are prone to playing at the first 7 o'clock game on that Wednesday nightcap. And then they win and go on to play either whoever it may be, whether it be Xavier, whether it be Villanova, whether it be Creighton at that 12 o'clock opening tip. And now they're going to be playing, if they were to go on to win against DePaul on Wednesday night, they would go on to play Villanova on Thursday night, something a little bit different that this team is used to because of, obviously, historically, in the last five years, they are used to playing at 12 noon. Kevin, for looking at this entire team, looking at what Julian Champagnie continues to do on a night in, night out basis, he was named to the All Big East first team. No surprise to anybody. But New York Post Zach Braziller did come out with an article and a couple of days ago speaking about how the last home game against Xavier, which was at Carnesecca Arena, most likely is going to be his last one in Queens. What do you see? This is his swan song. What do we expect?
Yeah, I think so. He was really close to not coming back last year. I don't know if his stock has improved much this year, given the team's inconsistencies and, frankly, his inconsistencies as well. But I would be stunned if he comes back to St. John's. This is going to be it for him, however long this postseason goes for St. John's, whether it's just the Big East tournament or they go on a run and make the NCAAs or they get a berth into the NIT. I think this is going to be it for him in a St. John's uniform.
Yeah, it's really, really tough to see. And, of course, Posh Alexander named All Big East honorable mention as well. The only 2 Johnnies to be named to a Big East accolade following the regular season. Kev, they're going up against a DePaul team, not a streaky team, but a team that is, that continues to show effort day in and day out, and how this team will truly be a force to be reckoned with. When we've said this a few years ago under Dave Lato, Max Strus was there, could not get it to go. Yeah, we thought maybe last year or 2 years ago would be the year for DePaul. Never turned out to be, but I think a lot of us in the media are thinking that this DePaul recruiting class, as well as their season this year, they could potentially upset some folks down the road. And St. John's is really not looking forward to, I'm assuming, to go up against this DePaul team, where Javon Freeman Liberty had 39 points just about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, DePaul just hung a 99 spot on St. John's last week. I mean, the defense was awful, and that's putting it lightly. DePaul got anything they wanted at the rim. They were wide open driving lanes. Anytime St. John's did close in on driving lanes, shooters were wide open for three. St. John's defense was awful, but look on the other end, their offense was pretty good that game. They hung 94 themselves. So it certainly could be a fun one on Wednesday night. Could be a lot of points, which certainly no one will complain about. I guess the coaches, if the defense is their calling card. But for DePaul, I mean, they got a coach now. That's kind of what it boils down to. That's what you've seen this year. I mean, Tony Stubblefield, I mean, he's doing an outstanding job with his team. And it's his first year, and I think DePaul might be in the mix for an NIT bid. I think regardless of who wins this game, I mean, you're kind of running into a buzzsaw on Thursday against Villanova. But I mean, DePaul has shown they're one of the hotter teams coming down the stretch here in the Big East this year. They play really hard. They give it all for 40 minutes, and it's not going to be easy for St. John's. I'll tell you that. I guess we'll get into my predictions later on, but I don't want to give that away. But I think this could be a really good game.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Keep in mind also, you said that DePaul might just be in the running for an NIT bid. Keep in mind, back in 2019, DePaul was the runner-up in the CBI. DeLuca, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, Kevin, let's dive into a little bit more to the Red Storm season. And like Joey brought up at the top, the preseason poll, it kind of speaks for itself here. St. John's was right there, fourth place. They were even flirting with the 3 seed there, right at that preseason poll, and they finished 7th. Yet another year of playing on Wednesday night for the St. John's Red Storms. And now that there's 11 teams, they at least won't be in that 12 noon game anymore. But at the same time, if St. John's is to be upset again, I don't want you to divulge your predictions yet. If St. John's is to be upset by DePaul, is this? I mean, well, let's not put it that way. But let's say they don't.
I know you were going to say.
Yeah, let's say they don't. Let's say they maybe win, but like an NIT berth the season. Is it not a failure? I mean, you were supposed to be 4th place and in the NCAA tournament. How can you, unless you win the Big East tournament and automatically qualify, how can you not say this season was a failure?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see how you can say that. I mean, not only did this team have hopes of playing with the top teams in the Big East, like competing for a top 3 seed, they thought they could make the NCAA tournament, and they thought they could win a game. And with the right draw, they thought they could be a second weekend team. I mean, that's kind of what the preseason expectations were. I mean, you brought back one of the best players in the conference. You brought back 2 of the best players in the conference, and then you added a bunch of high major transfers. And it hasn't panned out. But yeah, I mean, if they don't go 4 for 4 this week at the Garden, I don't see how you can't say this season wasn't a failure, a major disappointment. Even if they do make the NIT and even say, just for argument's sake, win the NIT, I still don't think you're not going into next season feeling good about yourselves, because I mean, in this age of college basketball, who knows who's going to transfer, who's going to stay, who's going to go. I mean, we already touched on Champagne's probably gone. I think there could be a lot of question marks in Queens if this team doesn't go on a big run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Kevin. I think, especially with Julian Champagne, certainly what feels like taking a Shamori Pons route and leaving after junior year for the NBA. And it does make you wonder about this transfer portal. Now that the Big East has allowed in-conference transferring, you got to wonder about some of these guys, where they might end up. You got to worry about you'd like to hope Posh Alexander knows he'll be the star of the team next year, and that he'll be back. He'll love to embrace that and be back, but you truly can't guarantee these things.
But keep in mind also, DeLuca, I want to bring this up also,
Sure.
is that Aaron Wheeler also has another year as well. We have to keep in mind too, and Aaron Wheeler has really
Very
come
important,
to his
yeah.
own too, Kev. And that's what we got a chance to see also is that, there were rumblings again of a quote unquote big three. Aaron Wheeler, Julian Champagny, Posh Alexander could never really come together. I think that's what some of the writers were really panning it as, but talk about Aaron Wheeler for a quick moment here. He might just be an X factor here in this contest.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't 100% count on him being back next year either. Because don't forget, I think he's 24 or he'd be 24 next year. Now, granted, that's kind of Providence's entire roster, and they're the top team in the Big East this year. But yeah, I mean, he certainly could come back. They didn't honor him for Senior Day, and that was because St. John's only honors players who are out of eligibility after this year.
Yeah.
So that includes Montez Mathis too. So Mathis and Wheeler could come back theoretically next year. They only honored Steph Smith and Tariq Coburn. So those they're done. They're out of college eligibility. But because Mathis redshirted a year at Rutgers and Wheeler redshirted a year Mathis graduated early. He only played 3 years at Rutgers, and Wheeler redshirted at Purdue. They still have another year of eligibility left. But yeah, I mean, Wheeler's been the X factor. He's been arguably their most consistent player in Big East play. You wonder if he had this type of success in non-conference play, could this season have much more of a different outlook? Could they have beaten Indiana in Bloomington? If he played better, could they have avoided that quad 4 loss against Pittsburgh? You'd have to say yes to both of them. The Kansas game, they were never in it. Champagny caught fire. They got back in it, and then he cooled off. So that's kind of the only real non-conference loss I would still say they had. If Wheeler played like he has the past 2 months in November, I think they probably would have had a much better chance at beating Indiana and Pittsburgh.
I mean, look, you can't say Kevin's wrong here. I mean, that quad 4 loss to Pittsburgh is going to be hindering if St. John's, for argument's sake, let's say St. John's only wins 2 or 3 games. Like maybe they reach the Big East championship and they fall to Villanova or UConn, whoever comes down from the bottom of the bracket. But
wouldn't be because you.
No, yeah, or
they would be playing UConn in the semifinals.
Yeah, if it's Providence or
that's just what I want. I just wanted to say. Yeah. I think.
Go ahead.
Yes, Saturday's loss to Marquette, I think, maybe hurts them in more ways people would have expected. And let me explain it this way. So if they won at Marquette, it would have been a quad 1 win. It would have been their, I don't know, 3rd, 4th quad 1 win, whatever. I don't have those numbers in front of me. If they did go on a run and they beat DePaul, okay, beating DePaul is not going to do anything for you. Then you get Villanova. All right, you beat Villanova. That's another quad 1 win under your belt. Then, I don't know, pick one. Do you get UConn or do you get Seton Hall? I don't think it matters. I think both on a neutral floor would be a quad 1 win. Then you're in the championship. Say Marquette beat you or Providence beat you or whatever. Your resume looks a little better with you're out of your last 4 wins, 3 of them being quad 1 wins. It looks better, but I still think that now it's for sure. I mean, they have to win the whole thing if they want to go dancing.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
And something else too is that is there a route for and I can't believe St. John's fans that will be watching this on Thursday, or rather on Wednesday, excuse me. When they hear this come out of my mouth, I'm sure they're definitely going to want to throw something at me. But Kev, is there a road for them to hosting an NIT game?
Probably. If they did make it to the championship and lose, I don't know if they would be like a number 1 seed in the NIT. I don't think they would have been one of those first 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there would be a chance for them to host a game or 2 in the NIT. I think that's a possibility because, again, you factor in like they would have beaten Villanova. Like there's no questions about that. Like if they want to go on a run, they have to beat Villanova because that would be their second game. And let's call a spade. Like Seton Hall is going to beat Georgetown in the nightcap on Wednesday. I don't think there's anyone in the world that's predicting Georgetown, even though Georgetown gave them a game in the Rock last week. Georgetown had a chance to tie with the ball late. But I think most people are going to take Seton Hall. So then pick your semifinal game, Seton Hall, UConn. So like there's wins to be had. And I guess in theory to move up in the NIT, sure. But yeah, I think they could host a game if they went on a little bit of a run here.
Kev, another thing that I want to bring up here, and then I want to throw it back to DeLuca, of course, just to get him involved a little bit more here. Kev, your biggest failure aside from inconsistencies, what was something noticeable else? What else was noticeable aside from inconsistency that you noticed this season with a brand new roster, with the exception of just Champagnie, Adewusu, and Alexander?
I think it was. I mean, it's kind of all under this inconsistencies umbrellas, but the substitution patterns. Sometimes you just didn't really understand them. Obviously, you can look at the late game execution, and I guess specifically go back to the Creighton game, where just a substitution pattern. Why was Mathis in the corner there? If you could have had a 3-point shooter in the corner, maybe you win that game. But I mean, just throughout. I mean, look at the Paul game last week. Aaron Wheeler had like 8 points in 6 minutes, and then spent the next 6 minutes on the bench. It's just the inconsistencies with the substitution patterns that they don't have the rotations fully set yet, and the regular season's over. It feels like sometimes you get a new starting lineup every game. I think I was trying to do some math before the Xavier game, and I think it was their 9th or 10th new starting lineup. Now, granted, that was because it was senior night and Smith and Coburn got starts. But then I think that was also their first starting lineup on Saturday against Marquette when they had Alexander, Champagnie, Coburn, Wheeler, and Soriano. That was a new start. So it's just been the substitution patterns and the rotations that have really hurt this team, because I mean, you don't know when you're going to be in, you don't know when you're going to be out. It's kind of that you don't have that set rotation yet.
It's crazy stuff. DeLuca, take it away.
I think Kevin's 100% right, and unfortunately, it's hard to say that I'm shocked he was able to give you such a great answer, because honestly, with the substitution patterns, that's just another inconsistency with this team. It truly has been the theme of the Red Storm all season long, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, just looking.
We also saw, and I don't mean to jump, but we also saw, me and Kevin got a chance to see, of course, a couple of games ago. I don't remember if it was the Creighton game, Kevin. Please correct me if I'm wrong, or if it was the game prior, where we saw Omar Stanley be one of the best players on the floor. Comes out for about 8 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which game was that? There's been so many games.
Yeah, that was the Creighton game.
That was
same thing when Steph Smith was hot and wasn't in. On that final possession.
Right.
When they got kicked to Mathis in the corner.
Yes.
And Mathis took a tough runner instead of that was Smith in the corner. You dish it to him. He's been hot all night. I think he was 5 for 6.
Yeah. One
of your best shooters, and he's hot. Let him take and see what happens.
It's so tough. It's really tough. Again, DeLuca, just like what we said, what Kevin and I have endured, and hell, we even went to UConn to endure the exact same pain. Take it away, DeLuca. Sorry.
No problem. That's the beauty of our show. We make good conversation no matter who's talking. And Kevin, let's get a little controversial. Let's get a little weird before we let you go. Let's.
He just said let's get.
You talk about inconsistencies. You talk about things like that, substitution patterns, and obviously, where do the substitution patterns come from? Comes from the coaching. Despite the winning season streak of Mike Anderson staying alive yet again by once again one game, what do you see? Is there any remote possibility right now that Mike Anderson's seat is warming up due to the fact that he finished 4th place and failed the season?
No, he's not going anywhere. That's what
I figure. You might as well ask the controversial question.
Stop that noise. That's not
gotta create the stir for the St. John's fans listening.
I know
there are people out there that are gonna want his head.
Oh,
so, you gotta ask Kevin these questions.
Listen.
Well,
Kevin
that's always
about that for sure.
Yeah, that's always been the motto of St. John's fans on Twitter. When they win, they're the best team in the country, and when they lose, the water boy should be fired too. I mean, that's just how St. John's fans roll. But no, he's not going anywhere this year. I don't think you even start having that conversation, even with the extension, until after next year if they have another disappointing season and they're not really close to the NCAA tournament this time. And at this very moment, a year from now, if it's the same thing where they're not close to anything, then that'd be 0 for 4. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I mean,
because some people like to, Kevin, they say three strikes and you're out. And the fact that there was a true opportunity to dance this year and nothing short of a Big East title will get you that. It makes people ask questions. I had to ask the question. I know he's not going anywhere. I think he's a fine coach. He's got to find his consistencies, as does the rest of the team. But that now, Joey, is it have we bothered Kevin enough? Do we need to get his predictions now, or do you?
I think we do.
All right.
And of course, because I'm going to be seeing Kevin on Wednesday night, Rob DeLuca doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to see St. John's lose. But
I don't know what to expect after what I saw again last time against DePaul. How do you hang up 94 points and lose?
I mean, I can tell you this much: as a gambling man, I'm taking the over on this Wednesday.
Yeah, I think the over is the safe bet as well. That's where I'd put my cards because I really can't. I can't personally pick a winner right now. Kevin, can you?
I'm gonna go with St. John's. I think they do beat DePaul. I think they'll lose on Thursday night to Villanova. Right now, my championship will be Villanova over Marquette.
All right.
So I think Marquette takes down Creighton in their Thursday afternoon game.
And let's pull up this bracket while you chat about this, Kevin.
Yeah. I think Marquette beats Creighton. So first round, I'll take Xavier over Butler, St. John's over DePaul, Seton Hall over UConn, and then Providence will beat Xavier. Although that I could see that game going either way. Like I said, Marquette beats Creighton, and then Marquette beats, say, Providence to get to the finals, and then Villanova beats St. John's. I can't wait for this 9:30 game on Thursday. I think Seton Hall and UConn's going to be outstanding. I wouldn't be surprised, Joe. You probably know more about this than me. I wouldn't be surprised if Kadari Richmond doesn't play on Wednesday and plays on Thursday. I know he was a little banged up after that Creighton game, but give me Seton Hall. Give me Seton Hall over UConn.
Wow.
I like the call there. I like the boldness there.
Yeah.
But, Kevin, you brought up an interesting thing. So let's say your championship prediction comes true. Villanova and Marquette. Did Marquette? I know they got the bye, but did Marquette need this championship game? Do they need the auto bid? You think, or are they?
No,
safe?
Marquette's in. They've done it. They've done enough in the regular season. But I'll tell you what a story would be. Shaka winning the Big East tournament in his first year here. That would be some story.
That just adds to the legacy that is Shaka Smart everywhere he goes. Honestly, different team, different hairstyle yet again, and a new tournament title maybe.
Kevin, I'm going to leave you with this. Obviously, with the accolades coming out today, and of course, some of the extra accolades coming out today. Most improved player, Justin Lewis. Sixth man, Jared Bynum. You've got a decent amount of players that I guess we can say that they're very deserving of it. Defensive Player of the Year. I don't want to call it controversially. I don't want to say it was a controversy between Justin Minaya and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Is there a potential snub that you see with those three accolades that came out Monday morning from the Big East?
I was surprised Kalkbrenner got Defensive Player of the Year over Minaya. And I guess the way the Big East is going to do it this year, no more sharing awards, I guess. Last year it felt like everybody and their mother shared an award. But this year they're just going singly. And I thought maybe defensive player could have had a co-defensive player. I know they had that last year with Posh and I think it was Isaiah Whaley.
Yes, it was.
Wrong on that. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And then obviously you had your tri-player of the year. But I thought Minaya should have had a share in the Defensive Player of the Year award, if not won it outright. I don't think you're going to see that with Coach of the Year, Player of the Year. I think Colin Gillespie is probably going to be unanimous Player of the Year, and I mean, Shaka's done a great job this year. Ed Cooley's got to be another unanimous Coach of the Year.
Yeah, that is definitely
he's right.
It's you know what, and it's very funny, and now I'll officially leave everyone with this, is that you can also make a case regardless of the record, if you really want to, but of course records will always win out, Ed Cooley or Shaka Smart, but you can also make a case if you really, really wanted to have some time and fight about it. Tony Stubblefield can potentially be in there with, they were not supposed to be 500. They were supposed to be what Georgetown is this year, and they completely exceeded expectations, which, again, 500 record, not something to tout, but they for many years of having a 25% win-loss record, they're finally at 50%. So really good stuff there. Ladies and gentlemen, Storm the Paint's a site expert, and of course, our good friend of our brand and my good friend, Kevin Connelly. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on here. I truly appreciate it, as does Rob DeLuca, of course, as well.
Thanks for having me, guys. See you on Wednesday.
Oh, boy, you will. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we've got another instant reaction coming up shortly right here on the Eastern Observer. We will see you in a few short moments.